This week in a conversation, I have the privilege to welcome out of Britain, Great Britain, author Jane Keightley. So we're going to be talking about her new Kate series, her new book. It's a children's book titled Blast Off to Planet Fun. We're going to have a lot of fun. Interesting. But before we start having fun with wonderful Blast Off to Planet Fun, I just want to take a quick moment also to remind you, you can always have lots of fun by reading my own novel, my new novel, Bittersweet Memories of Last Spring. I know many of you have already written it, have already read it, but it doesn't mean that you can't really share it with friends. The best way to support my literary journey is to tell your friends and fans about it. And do not share your copies now, by the way. It's important to keep yours because remember now they say pictures fade over time, but words will live more than 1,000 years. So yes, support the effort. And also I'm asking you to support the conversation too. This is your best literary show out there on YouTube. And the best way to do so is to subscribe. And if you have not subscribed, do so. If you already have, tell your friends and fans about it so they can do the same thing. So let's get started. Again, my name is Ardain Isma, and I'm here this afternoon with an impeccable author. And I'm here with author Jane Keightley. She's joining me from Britain. And we're going to be talking about her very interesting children book titled Blast Off to Planet Fun. But before we start the blast off, we blasted off to the planet. I just have to say, Jen, it's an honor to have you. Welcome to the conversation.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Okay, Jen, would you please tell the viewers of CSMS Magazine who is Jane Keightley?
Okay, well, I've always wanted, and that started at school really when I enjoyed creative writing. But I knew that I needed more life experience before I could, become an author. So I've had a very varied skill set. I trained in hotel management. Then I diversified and I was PA to the Deputy Chief Executive of some premier health clubs for 12 years in London. And then I ran my own business. I had a children's design wear business and I had my own brand called Smartest. And then I've done various other things. But latterly, in lockdown, I was made redundant and it gave me time and the perfect opportunity to write.
Right. Okay.
So I wrote Blast Off to Planet Fun.
Yes.
And that was published in April. And just yesterday, Jamming in the Jungle, which is my second book, has gone to the publisher. So that should be out in December.
Okay.
And I'm on my third.
Is this one has fallen to the same genre? It's going to be one of the children's books also?
Yeah, it's a series of 6. So Blast Off to Planet Fun is the first one. Then Jamming in the Jungle. And then I'm writing one currently, teaching children how to reduce the carbon footprint and help to save the planet.
Now, so that means it's the reason why, the title and the book itself falls into this specific narrative. You're teaching them how to save the planet, right?
I'm doing my best to give them ideas because I think it all starts from them. And to be honest, children are a lot more into it than we are. So just simple things like not to squash bugs and to pick up litter and to plant trees and very, very simple steps that they can all take to make the world a better place for their generation and generations to come.
And that's so true because, children, they represent the future of our planet.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, Jen, Blast Off, how did you come up with the idea? Because I know you are very passionate about, saving our planet. How do we reduce carbon emission into the atmosphere? So many things that you're interested in, and you're trying to get all of these into those who live around you. to motivate them, to educate them. And you're using a specific tool, which is very interesting for me and for the rest of us, children. So,
Absolutely.
so how did you come up with the idea?
Well, the inspiration was a pug puppy that I had called Mr. Pickles, and he used to sit on my knee and instantly start snoring, even before I'd had the opportunity to go to sleep. So it kind of triggered my thought process. I thought, what is this guy thinking about? What does he dream? And then that was kind of the inspiration for the book. So the concept of the stories is every time Smudge, who's the main character in the book, he's a colourful bulldog. Every time Smudge goes to sleep, he has a different dream. So he goes to the jungle and he goes to blast off and he teaches the children. And the USP is educational fiction, because I didn't want to just write a children's story.
Exactly.
I wanted it to educate them, because the target age is 3 to 7. So for the 3 and 4-year-olds, the story is often almost enough. But for the older children, there's 4 activity sheets in the back of the book. And then I recorded a rap at a Sign FM, which is a local radio station. So I wrote a rap about each verse, about each planet, and it teaches the children all about the characteristics of the planet and how far they are from the sun, what are they made of, if they've had a space shuttle landing, how many moons they have, just so, and then how to spell the name of the planet at the end. Wow. And it's rap, so they can sing along. And there's a QR code in the book that links to my YouTube channel, so they can actually see the words either on the screen or in the book and sing along and learn in a fun and interactive way. So they're wiser without realizing they're learning.
So we're talking about children between the age of maybe 4 to 7, from
3
5
to 7. That's the target age, is 3 to 7.
3 to 7. Okay.
Yeah.
How do they respond to you, Jen, when you talk to them?
They love it. Firstly, they love meeting an author. I mean, I'm a literacy champion with the National Literacy Trust, and we have a literacy lab near Doncaster, and I go in there, and just recently we had 2 year 2 groups, so I had 44 children. So I read them the story, and then we had a Q&A session, and they asked such intelligent questions. Really? I mean, they were like 5 and 6-year-olds, and the same, you know, can you tell us about the printers, and can you tell us about the publishing process, and can I give you an idea for your next book? This?
Wow.
Yeah, because they're totally engaged. They're in awe that they're actually sitting
in front of an author. These are very smart children.
Very, very engaged. And we did this for about 10 minutes, and I answered all of the questions, and they were so engaged that they started asking the same questions in a different way. And then we went on to do a draw along, because the manager of the Doncaster Hub is an artist and illustrator. So he drew Smudge and the planets and King Crump, who's in one of the characters in the book with an apple in his crown. We just gave them a clipboard and a piece of paper and a pencil, and he showed them, you know, slowly how to draw it. So they drew it and then coloured it in, and then did some activities that we'd printed out from the back of the book. And then we gave them a complimentary book and sent them back to school. So we had them for an hour and a half, and they were totally engaged and really well behaved throughout, because they just enjoyed the hour and a half of literacy with us.
So you usually have a group of about, what, maybe 10 or 12 children?
Well, more. Usually I do a class. I'm going into the school next month. I've got 320 during the day.
320?
Yeah. So I'm going
That's a large group.
It's quite a large school in a city. So I'm going to nursery, and then they've got 3 reception groups, 3 year 1 groups and 3 year 2 groups. So throughout the day, I'll engage with 320 children.
Wow. Because I know I'm an educator myself. I used to do what you call that, you know, cooperative learning activities.
Right.
Them,
yep.
Grouping them, you know, and which also at the time it did very, very important thing. 2 things. One is to keep them engaged and also understand each other while learning, you know, while the learning process is going on.
Yeah.
And also it makes them so, I would say, more believe in education. You see what I mean? So I'm thinking this is exactly what you're doing with these kids over there in England.
They love it. They really engage. And it's amazing what some children know about the planets. I had a 6-year-old, and he blew me away with his knowledge. and he was telling me that when Pluto was downgraded and what space shuttle landed here and what the tallest volcano was. He was his factual knowledge was amazing. And then I had a 4-year-old, he was 4 the week before, and he'd learned the song from CBeebies.
Really?
So in the book, there's a picture of the solar system. So it shows you where the planets are in relation to the sun. And he was singing with this song, and he was pointing at all the planets. So he'd never seen that solar system picture before, but he knew the planet song, and he could relate each line that he sung about the planet. He was pointing at the solar system. He was 4. They're very, very clever and like sponges. So you teach them and they know and understand and they learn. And, it's really rewarding for me.
Sometimes we as adults, we tend to underestimate, our children.
Yeah. They're very clever.
So,
and I just believe that today's readers are tomorrow's leaders. And I think children who read for pleasure are far more likely to fulfill their ambitions. So children who read will succeed. It's that simple.
Exactly. Even we as adults, although we're writers, we know that reading must play an important role in what we do in the writing journey.
It just opens your mind and your imagination and gives you knowledge. And, if they read for 10, 15 minutes a day, and if they read or you read to them 1 book a day, it just makes such a major difference to their future. But I think a lot of the children are really keen to read. I think it's re-educating the adults, because I go to numerous events and parents will spend £8 on a face paint that will be washed off in the bath 3 hours later.
Wow.
But they won't spend £7.99 on a book that will last their children for potentially 4 years, where they can read the story and do the activities and sing along to the rap. And it's so much more than just a picture book.
Exactly.
And the child will come up and say, "Oh, mummy, I'd really like this book." And they'll say, "You've got enough books. You can never have enough books. It's impossible." So I think not only is it educating the children, it's re-educating the parents about how important it is to read to children, to spend that quality time, not just reading, but asking them about the characters and where would they go to and what would he do next, and exploring their imagination is so important, not just reading them a book.
So prior to starting this project, Jane, did you do some research? Did you do that?
Well, I had to be up on my planets because I get in dialogue with very clever children. Right. And if I didn't know, that wouldn't be good. So yeah, I did a lot of research about the solar system, particularly for the rap, because that's, there's a lot of facts in each verse. And I wanted to make sure, obviously, that they were really accurate. And because the book's written in rhyme, and I wanted it to be a really free-flowing rhyme. I didn't want it to feel forced, as if I had to match the words. So actually writing the story was quite, relatively easy. But then I'm a perfectionist. So I went through and checked that every word was as I wanted it to be, and that the rhyming words were right. And then I wrote the rap, and I could have actually written another book in the time that it took me to write the rap. But the USP is educational fiction, and I always had that in my mind. So I wanted to educate them. This next book has got far more activities in the back and actually some literacy prompts. So, it asked them to do diary entries and stories and an acrostic poem and, different ways that you can engage the children.
So, Jen, this is book 1 we're talking about now. Yeah. You live in a very highly concentrated urban area where,
I live between 3 big towns, but I actually live in a tiny hamlet with no shops or pubs, or just surrounded by fields. But I'm about 10 miles from 3 towns and about 20 miles from 2 big cities. So, there's plenty of demographic areas that we can target to encourage children to read and learn.
So this is book 1 we're talking about now, and you say you have book 2 currently in the works.
Book 2 will be published in December. Book 3 is being written now about saving the planet, and book 4 is going to be about inclusion, diversity, equality, LGBT, making children more accepting and celebrating the things that we have in common rather than highlighting our differences.
Correct. So this particular book, it's going to be more into less into illustration, but more into writing itself, or you will keep the same format,
Same
pictures.
illustrator, same format, same main character, Smudge. It's always him that dreams and goes off to have the adventure. I have a really good illustrator who lives in Sheffield, and I gave her the manuscript, and I did a PowerPoint presentation of what was in my head, so she
Wow.
knew as I was writing, the characters and everything. And then I just give her the green light to interpret that however she sees, because she's the illustrator, she's the professional to bring the
Heck,
words to life, and that's exactly what she did.
I really like that. You're so proactive and so
I
engaged.
love it. I absolutely love what I do.
So let me ask you something now. Where can we find the book? Is it on Amazon, on all the other platforms where they sell books?
Yeah, it's on Amazon and Waterstones online.
Hmm.
It's at the Great British Bookshop. It's at Gardeners. The best places to get a signed, personalised copy. It's on Etsy and it's on eBay, and
Okay,
those come directly to me. So if somebody wanted a signed copy and then a personalised message, if it's for a birthday or a Christmas or just I love you or whatever, if they do it through those two channels, then I can actually write a message as well before I send it. And the book's everywhere. It's in America, Australia, Japan, India, because I'm in two engagement groups on Instagram. So I've got a lot of, authors, and we support each other. And,
exactly.
it's gone global, which is really exciting.
Yep. Because you know what? It's not only the story of your book itself. It doesn't really pertain for children in Britain only.
Nope.
Children across the world can benefit from it.
Yeah.
And if we're talking
And
about saving our planet,
we
we
are.
are
We all need saving. Yeah.
we're targeting.
Yeah.
But now, besides that, do you plan in the future, Jane, to switch or transitions to another or multiple genres in literature? Or you want to
No,
stick just with the
I want to be. This is where I feel that my skill is in writing in 14-metre rhyme for children. I mean, I go to events at Waterstone to hear about adult genre, and I go to writing workshops. So I keep my mind open to all kinds of genres, and I read a lot myself. But I feel that my specialism is writing for children, and I also have a desire to make a difference and to encourage those children to read and learn, and to encourage the adults to support them with that.
of
So
course,
I
yes,
just feel that it's what I would like to do. So I won't change genres.
you
I
are.
love it far too much. What I
Okay.
have done though is actually make it. I've adapted it for partially sighted and hard of hearing children. So it's in the RNIB library now as an audio book, so partially sighted children can enjoy it. And then I have it signed with an interpreter, so children with hearing disabilities can enjoy it. And I'm actually having it translated into 4 different languages, so a lot more children can enjoy it.
Wow. You know what? I listened to the audio version of the book.
Yeah, yeah.
So you said you were you the one
I
who
did that. Yeah,
yeah, that's
yeah.
interesting. You really very talented to do that.
Thank you. I just really enjoy. I start very early in the morning. I do a couple of hours on social media, and then I do various things during the day that are book related. And I often don't log off till 10 or 11 at night because it's not like work. I thoroughly enjoy it. No 2 days are the same. And there's always something to do. When you've got a book out, you've got another one that's just gone to the publisher. You're halfway through writing the third one, and your head's full of ideas for the fourth. There's always things to do. And I do author visits and events and all kinds of, just getting the message out there as well. So there's
Right,
never a dull day.
right. That's interesting, Jane. Let me ask you this question now, because I know you belong to a very flourishing writers group on
Yeah,
Instagram.
yeah.
I'm not sure if you're on Twitter also, but you're very strong and very popular, and I've watched you sometimes. Uh, do you plan on branding your name as an author who actually is associated with solely children, just like Karen Pescatori, your friend?
well, because I want to focus on children's books, that is, the genre that I've decided to do. So I won't diversify into any others. But that engagement group that you're referring to, it's full of really supportive authors, and we just like to help each other. I'm also in another engagement group that's very similar. We don't see ourselves as competition. We'll just do whatever we can to assist other authors. I also mentor 3 other authors as well, 2 in the US and 1 in the UK, because they're aspiring. And what I would like to do, because I've been on that publishing journey, is just to share my knowledge to make life easier for them. So, to save them time and effort and the pitfalls that they could fall into. So I just decide to mentor 3 other authors as well. And I like doing that. So it's good.
So you're very busy. So you're writing books, you're mentoring authors, and you're doing multiple things at the time. And you seem to be very successful at doing that and enjoying it too. So that's interesting. So Jen, we're almost out of time, but I have 2 more questions for you.
Okay.
Because I know as writers, we read all the time. If I were to ask you who you would consider as your favorite author, hands down of all time, who that person would be?
Dr. Seuss.
Really? I know why you say that. I know why you say that.
I absolutely love those books. I read them as a child. I read them all to my children, and now I read them still when I'm out and about at events, because I think the words are just so relevant. And then the places we'll go. My brother read an extract of that at my son's christening, because that's so true about having shoes on your feet and a brain in your head. And it's your destiny, and you choose where you want to go, and it tells that story so eloquently. But yeah, definitely Dr. Seuss is a favourite, and Julia Donaldson.
Oh, really? That would be a second. Second best.
But I actually enjoy crime drama, and I met 2 authors last Thursday and had a conversation with them at an event about the characters and the plot and the point of view and everything, and that was really interesting. So personally, I love a really good crime drama, but certainly for children's books, Dr. Seuss every time for me.
Okay, so I've interviewed many British writers before, and I would say overwhelmingly there are fantasy writers and some historical writers too, historical fiction writers. And that's why I asked you earlier, if you plan on writing beside children's books, also historical, or fantasy. Because I know that you're just going to stick with that.
Yeah, I'm going to stay with educational fiction for 3 to 7-year-olds in 14-meter rhyme. I think you just find what you enjoy and what you have a talent for, and I just think I'm quite happy to continue. I've got so many ideas. I mean, this is a series of 6, but I've got so many ideas after that. So I don't intend stopping anytime soon.
Okay. Now my last question: if there was a lesson that you would want to give to any person out there, watching us now, and who would want to embark on the same journey, teaching children through illustration to wonderful children's books like those of yours. So what lesson would you give that person?
To adults, do you mean, like aspiring
adults? Yeah.
Yeah, just keep going. I think there's, it's kind of sometimes a challenging road. I mean, they say there's a book in everyone, and us authors know there absolutely isn't. So I think you certainly need some talent and an understanding of grammar, and I think you need lots of patience. I think you need a desire to not just to have your name on the front of the book. It's none of it's about that. But my main reason for writing is to encourage children to read and learn in a fun and interactive way. So everything, that is my goal really, and everything comes from that. But for aspiring authors, just choose a subject that you know a lot about, put in the effort and the hard work, ask for help, because there's plenty of authors out there who are very willing to give their time and knowledge, and then just carry on. and just do it and go for it. And you know, it was been a lifetime ambition of mine. And at 56, I've just realised it. It's never too late.
No, it's never too late at all. And on that wonderful note, I'm just going to say it's been more than a pleasure to
Thank
have
you
had
for
the
having me.
opportunity to talk to you, Jane.
Yeah.
And I
I've really
think maybe
enjoyed
when
it.
the next book is published, we'll do it again as that.
Yeah, I'd love to. We'll do Jamming in the Jungle and talk about those adventures.
Okay.